5 minutes early, actually 6 minutes early. And just wanted to get this started a little early because I have an hour to go and I wanted to make sure that I've got enough time to set it up and be ready to rock and roll if there are people who want to be on time. I don't know what kind of an audience I'm going to get today. I'm really hoping that there's going to be some questions. So we'll just adjust the tripod here and get going. Start chatting. It's Sunday, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, here where I am at, which is Northern Europe. We still have summer going on. The city. So anyhow, I was planning on hosting this live today and get some work done at the same time. I need to prepare for my next video. Tomorrow is going to be another day of prioritizing my activities in the morning, and there were a bunch of not so pleasant surprises last week or this week when it comes to work. So first of all, my own house, the property that I sold in December, the owner called me 2 weeks ago saying that there's water damage in the property and claiming pre-existing conditions, which means in practice that it smells like liabilities, right? Guess who's responsible? Well, I don't know how it's going to turn out, but at the end of the day, I got to sort that out. There was a property inspection that took place, and now actually I'm going to consult with my lawyer, my real estate attorney, tomorrow, see if I can get a hold of him and ask him how that's going to play out. But I have a pretty good feeling as far as what he's going to say. And then another thing, yesterday, which was Saturday morning, I visited another one. One of my big projects, this was a new construction townhouse project, 8 units that I completed, let me think now, 23 to 21 or 22. And the back patio that we had built, it's kind of like a covered patio. So the roof line, there's no like an extension or anything. It's not like an awning. It's kind of like the structure of the dwelling. The roof line extends so that it works as a covered patio as well. But anyhow, the back end of the patio is supported differently. It's got these pipe piles. Is that the right term? Technical term? That go deep into the ground. In this case, they only go like, I would say 5-6 feet, which is actually maybe not even that, 4 to 5 feet into the ground, and it's clay. And what happens with clay is that when it dries, if there's water pockets or pockets of water, streams of water going under the dwelling, that has an impact on the footing. Well, the footing itself, it's got different like metal piles going very deep in the ground. This is like 60 feet or something because it's so soft. So in hindsight, the width of the back patio, and on the outer end, if the back patio is here, the outer end here, the kind of like the roof line is like this, which covers the patio. So this here is supported by these pipe piles or whatever it's called. Technical term is like these metal piles that are like, let's say 4 or 5 feet long. So that's not enough apparently, because the width of the back patio, the terrace itself, is like 11 meters, which is 11 yards, which is like, let's say 35 feet. So the problem is that it kind of like it's been moving, and that's obviously not acceptable. And we were first expecting that to be something that's going to go away when the clay dries underneath the footing and the dwelling. I'm just talking about some boring technical stuff. Anyhow, those who joined, I was just recapping what I have to do next week. So a couple of welcome to the game of entrepreneurship. So there's always something that happens. So you get punched in the mouth daily, and then you have to wake up tomorrow morning and feel excited. In this case, a couple of liability issues. One regarding my own house that I sold. So the owner called there's water damage and claiming pre-existing conditions. So I would be liable on the hook for that damage. There was a property inspection last week. I need to call my attorney on Monday, meaning tomorrow, Monday, get that sorted out, and then another warranty claim from my new construction projects, and then that's something that I have to also somehow sort out. Well, it means that I have to take care of it. And first I have to talk to a structural engineer, the guy who was in charge of the footing, and as far as how that was supposed to be handled and whatnot, the length of the pipe piles and the support system, all of that. I need to be able to get a hold of him. So a lot of stuff tomorrow that's kind of like, I would call off topic right now, because most of my activities are centered around this stuff, content creation and business coaching and whatnot. But anyhow, it's something that I have to do. But I recorded a video yesterday, and that's something I want to talk about today as well. It's going to come out, it's going to be published later today, maybe in 2 or 3 hours. It's about the very thing that I just mentioned, how to deal with uncertainty. So if you are an entrepreneur, maybe you can relate to this. If you're not, that's fine. I think we all suffer from this to a certain extent, meaning that it's so hard and it's so difficult for us to deal with uncertainty that we are willing to torture ourselves with all these negative thoughts. So meaning overthinking is a classic example of people being willing to, like I said, torture themselves with these worst case scenarios. Think about it. Have you ever heard anybody overthink anything positive? What if I make more money? What if this turns out to be good? What if I'm happier at the end of the day? It's always the opposite. So you overthinking something that's the absolute worst case scenario. And my theory is this, and that's something that I talked about in the video as well, that the reason why you do that, or the reason why I do that, is that we have hard time, impossible time to deal with uncertainty, because not knowing is the worst thing. I don't know what's going to happen. Therefore, I have to occupy my mind with these super negative worst case scenario thoughts. So the solution would be to learn how to deal with that unknown and deal with the uncertainty. In my video, I talked about the so-called four steps that I have identified that have worked well for me, because I used to be one of those people who thought that, okay, I don't mind thinking about those bad things because at least I won't get blindsided. You know what I mean? So think about it. So we constantly dwell on the past or worry about the future because unknown, not knowing what's going to happen, is so scary. And it's so easy for us to think about the worst case scenarios because it's built into our DNA, sensing danger, recognizing danger. If you believe in the evolution theory that, back in the day when we lived in the jungle, it was really useful to be able to recognize danger so that you would not be somebody's lunch tomorrow, right? So I hear something in the bushes, so maybe that's my lunch, or I become somebody else's lunch. Now we don't really need that, but the same level of, that ability to sense danger. So that's one of the reasons why we are trapped. Okay, so one might say, okay, why is it bad that I keep overthinking these negative things? Well, it's bad because you keep yourself trapped. Fear is dictating and limiting your growth, professionally, personally, whatever. So that's why I think one of the most important skills that you can have is to learn how to deal with uncertainty, not knowing what's going to happen. Okay, in my case, I don't know. Okay, so how do I get comfortable with the uncomfortable so that I'm fine either way, regardless of what happens with these two potential liability cases that I have, lawsuits or whatever. How do I deal with the unknown? Okay, so my steps are these. So number one, understand what's happening. That negativity bias, the one that I just explained, is a real thing. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with you. You're human. So stop worrying about it. Let's fix it. Step number two is that you got to let go of the outcome. And this is it's not complicated, but I try to simplify the whole topic. The idea is that instead of measuring your daily success or weekly success based on what those end results or outcomes are, you actually distance yourself. You understand that there is no right or wrong decisions. There are only decisions, and there are only outcomes. You know, and once you are comfortable with that, you understand that, okay, it doesn't matter. I always get what I deserve in the long run. So why do I have to worry about the weekly or daily results? I just identify what the winning actions are. I just keep doing that. Ask myself at the end of the day, you know, is this thing that I'm worrying about today going to be something that I worry about when I'm 90? If not, just forget the whole thing. Learn how to deal with that. And when you can distance yourself from the outcome, the short-term results, you're much better off. The second step, or the third step, focus on the present moment. So most of us dwell on the past or worry about the future. And the only thing we have is right now, what we have right now. I don't know if I'm going to be alive in 30 minutes. I have no fucking idea. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So therefore, I can only focus on what I have right now. But if all of my focus goes towards those future worries, like the potential lawsuits I just referred to, or what I fucked up yesterday, or what somebody did to me yesterday. So I can't have focus in all places. You know, I can't focus on right now. I can't focus on the present moment. And that's the only thing I have. That's the only thing I have control over. Okay, that's third. And then the fourth is that you just have to build proof by taking action. Why is proof important? Because we only have promises and we only have proof, those two things. And confidence comes from the past, meaning you build proof by taking action. I'm going to give you an example. So, real talk, I've had several shortcomings. I still have, but one of them was that I've had a hard time saying no to people and opportunities, especially people close to me. I didn't want to disappoint anybody. So I really had to start practicing to say no, to get comfortable with that part. And how do I do that? I expose myself to that skill or that shortcoming in small doses. So it's like, instead of like, let's say if I'm afraid of heights, I don't climb to the top floor of a skyscraper. I just start with the second floor, third floor, fourth. You know, I expose myself to that step by step, little by little, and then I numb the feeling. It's the same exact thing. If I have, like in our example, if I have hard time dealing with uncertainty, dealing with the unknown, like I said, which is one of the key skills for people to become successful as an entrepreneur, for instance, or whatever. So then the thing is that, well, you got to start practicing that little by little, step by step. You don't have to be fearless. You don't have to be able to predict the future. You just got to expose yourself to that. Are you okay, brother? Your neck is so red. Love your videos. Make more. My neck is red. Okay. Thanks for the comment. I'm good. I'm good. Maybe some exposure to sun. Well, so speaking of videos, there's going to be a new one later today. Like I said, it's the one that I was referring to. So basically, how do I deal with uncertainty? How do I learn how to deal with uncertainty? And that's really the key. Like I said, the reason why we can't handle that is so hard for us to not be able to be in control. And ultimately then, what do? We dwell on those worst case scenarios, right? Any other good comments about the way I look or about something else? We can also talk about the way I look. That's fine too. I appreciate all and any comments. I'm actually happy that people are commenting, because the last two lives I had have been like semi-quiet. So I got to do something here in the meantime, because in an hour I got to go. My son has a hockey game, and I'm supposed to be the guy in the penalty box counting shots or saves that the goalies have. So that's one of the things. My son is he's 19 years old now, so he plays in U20, so under 20. It's kind of like the last junior league before adults start playing. So still, it's kind of like parents being involved in those games and being the ones who announce the games and, you know, count the shots and open the penalty box door and all the good stuff. So that's why I have to go there. but it's good. And my daughter actually went to London today. Just dropped her off at the airport. Her flight actually just is about to depart now. Yeah, she's going to spend a week there. Actually, a nice thing. So they have a school trip over there for a week. Awesome. What's awesome? That I'm okay. Good times. Yeah, it's raining outside. Let me show you. So you don't have to look at my ugly face. Sun is shining, and it's raining at the same time. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? Well, I'm glad we get some interaction going on. So people, maybe Sunday is a busier day, a more active day than some of the other ones. I've been having these lives every other day pretty much this week, I think. Tuesday I had what did I have on Tuesday? Yeah, I had my meeting with my social media manager, and then my client meeting, and then Thursday night, did I have Friday? I think I had Friday too. Nice view, thank you. And now Sunday. These are fun, assuming I get people to join and give me some comments and questions. So if you have anything on your mind, like I said, any topic is fine for me. Of course, my favorite ones are personal development and business. If you've been watching my videos, you know that I'm a real estate developer, investor, and a business coach, which I started. I mean, this last thing that I started a year and a half ago, which is basically creating content and quote unquote marketing my services or promoting myself. I had this is so typical for me to recognize what do I need to do, ask myself, what is it that I'm going to regret at 90 if I don't do it now? And then I just like, okay, well, it's hard. It looks really hard. I mean, that looks like a really stupid idea or like a challenging idea. And then I just start doing it if that's something that I have to do so that I don't have any regrets. Top 2 books in investment. A question to me? Good question though. Well, okay, so what I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know about investment, it's such a broad topic, but I'm going to give you one right now that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. Well, I don't know if you're going to enjoy it, but I'm a big fan of Alex. So, I mean, read his books if you want to get I mean, he has this unique ability. Very few people have this. Alex has this unique ability to simplify complex topics and turn them into something that, you know, regular people can understand. And he has a passion, I believe. I think it's a genuine passion that he has towards teaching. And I just enjoy. I mean, we seem to have similar passions in life as far as business and training goes. So, I mean, I've been a big fan of his for a couple of years, 2-3 years now. And I'm actually reading his latest book. But these are not investment books. These would be business books, in my opinion. But I don't know. I mean, actually, I'm not. I saw his promotion video online. Yeah. Oh, you mean the latest book? I mean, that book launch was crazy. He made like 117 million. But many people misunderstand the whole idea there. That, I mean, he was preparing for that thing for 2 years. The amount of work that he put in, he was able to put in, and the prep, it's just crazy. It's just absolutely insane. So I think the biggest thing that he has taught me, if I look at it from that perspective, is the level of readiness and the amount of preparation that he's been able to put in. And I try to, I've always been the guy who prepares pretty well and I work hard, but I think I just have another level and another level after that I can take myself to. And I've been trying to, I don't know if it shows because I have a long way to go with my content, but I've been trying to do much better work when it comes to prepping for my videos, and then as a result be able to be better when it comes to presenting them. That's one of the reasons why I hired a social media manager to do all the editing for me, for my shorts, for my longs, and then also put together my 30-day content plan and look at the whole thing holistically. And then that would give me more time to really prepare for the upcoming videos and then record them and make sure that I can do the best possible job in doing that. So pretty much my days nowadays, with the exception of these sidetracks that I just mentioned in the beginning of the video, my signal for every day, meaning what's the most relevant topic for every day, is either I prepare, I plan, prepare, or I record. It's like, once I'm done recording one, then I go back to prep mode. Then give me your top 2 books you recommend for us. Well, I mean, if you're a business person, go and read Alex's books. I would say those are very highly recommended. And then, I don't know, overall mindset type book would be, I mean, this is a classic one, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad probably would be not so much tactics, but I would basically say that if you have a hard time understanding the difference between being a consumer versus creator and working for somebody versus working for yourself, I think that would be a good one from that perspective. I think that's an eye-opener. But again, everybody is so different when it comes to their level of maturity, experience, and where they're coming from and where they want to go. So I think that would be foolish for me to give more. But I would say overall, instead of reading, I mean, it depends. Maybe reading a book is your thing. But to me, that's not my most natural way of learning. I'm the type of guy who wants to ask questions, watch videos, and observe things. Yes, it also means reading, but reading is not my top 3. I think my top 3 actually is watching a video where I can see like maybe a combination of slides and somebody explaining it. That would be probably my preferred way. That's why I've been using, I mean, YouTube is my #1 education tool in life. And then after that, maybe podcasts and books and articles on the internet and stuff like that. But you can just put together your own MBA tailor-made for your needs based on just free education online. That's the thing. So, I mean, anybody to tell you what to do, it would be like, I mean, the reason why nobody should tell you what to read is because the first step always in everything is to know what to want. So once you tell me what you want in life, I could actually go back and say, okay, based on your needs, based on your goals in life, then do this. But for someone, I mean, there's 2 steps for everything. There's like knowing what to want is the first step. Because 90% of the information around there is just noise. People tell you stuff, you know, politicians tell you stuff, teachers and school and the society and your parents and your friends tell you things. But I would argue that 90 or 95% of that is just complete bullshit, meaning it's irrelevant to you. The hardest part for you is to filter that info and apply the 5 or 10%. That's the same as knowing what to want. Because many people focus on just getting a lot of stuff and they have no idea what applies to them. Like the same thing, like I think the best definition of someone who's very intelligent or smart is that person's capability or ability to apply the learnings. I mean, I could go to school and get 3 PhDs if that was my thing. I would have lots of information. But if I can't use that information anywhere, if I can't apply it when it comes to my personal needs, that's just waste of fucking time. Right? So don't go to school for the sake of going to school. Go to school so that you can apply the learnings to your life. Right? So then the thing is that, okay, so you should spend ridiculous amounts of time in the beginning if you're young. I don't know how old you are, in my opinion. This is just my opinion again. In figuring out what applies to you. Yeah, your friends might want Lamborghinis or Ferraris, but that might not be your thing. It would be very easy for you to fall for that stuff. And they like watches, or they like partying, or they like cryptos, or they like this or that. They want to be entrepreneurs. Maybe that's not your thing. So spend a lot of time being brave enough to find your own path, regardless of what people tell you. I keep telling this all the time. And you know, my daughter is 16, my son is 19, okay? Especially my daughter is very coachable. And we have a lot of these so-called deep conversations. And I mean deep for someone who's 16. And I tell her all the time that the hardest part in life is to figure out what applies to you. Because when you're young, even if you are 30 or 40 or 50, by the way, the same applies to older people. Everybody's fucking clueless. Trust me, everybody's clueless. The billionaires are clueless. The biggest difference between them and regular people is they just take action. And they know that along the way they can figure things out. Okay? And you can only figure things out by taking action. How to know what applies to me? I don't. That's the thing. You got to have the conversation with yourself. It's called intuition. That's why you practice. You keep having the conversation, saying, okay, what interests me? What is my passion area in life? Okay, I'll give you an example from my own life. My son calls me on Friday. I'm in the office. He's like, I've been thinking about going to this other city that's 5 hours away to play hockey. I'm like, okay. He was just released from the military, which is mandatory here in Finland, even though he's a dual citizen, United States and then Finland. Since he still has his Finnish citizenship, he has to go to the military here. It's only 6 months, 6 to 12. Anyhow, he graduated from high school, went to the military, and got out. And now, before going to college or whatever, he wants to figure things out. He works for my brother a little bit, and now he's like, okay, I still want to see if I have it in me to play hockey at a higher level. What do you think? I'm like, I think it's a great idea. A so-called traditional dad would be like, okay, well, you're never going to make money potentially, or, don't you already know which school you're going to go to or apply for? And I'm like, instead of doing that, I'm like, okay, if that's your passion, if that's your interest, do whatever it takes to make sure that you have no regrets at 90. Of course, he's fucking 19. He can't put himself in those shoes. He's not supposed to. But when you are that young or 25 or whatever you are, the only thing in my opinion is, the only thing you should be doing in my opinion is that you keep asking yourself over and over and over, what truly interests me? Am I going to school for my parents, or am I going to school for myself? And then you just pursue your dreams. It sounds like a cliche, but that's what you should do. And that's the same as knowing what applies to you. You keep having this conversation with yourself. It doesn't happen overnight. It's like anything else. You got to get good at it. You got to practice. So that's what you do. You have the conversation. It's called intuition. It's called gut. It's called inner energy. And the more you practice, the better you get. That's what you do, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. This could be noise to you, meaning it's like, okay, that's one of those things that you just said, it's 90%, so block it, it's bullshit, it's noise. Maybe. But I know it works for me, and it works for my family members if they follow these rules, because I'm just a big believer in that stuff. That's how you know. But it doesn't magically appear tomorrow morning when you're like, okay, I would like to understand what applies to me. It happens over time, and maybe it takes you a year or 10 years. But if you keep having these conversations, you test different things, you travel, one of the biggest investments. That's why you go and travel, you put yourself in a different environment so that you change your behavior. Change your circumstances, change your behavior. There are 3 big things in life that you gotta nail. Where you live, who you hang out with, and what you do for a living. And those are all gut, intuition decisions. There's no logic behind it. Everything else is pretty much a math, an Excel spreadsheet type thing. People go to these investment forums or discussion forums, and they're like, okay, well, why don't you analyze my deal? Let's say this is real estate. Okay, so would you invest in this? It's like fucking plug in the numbers. There's a formula behind it. And if the math works, you got to understand what your values are, what your targets are, and if the math works, do it. It doesn't matter what other people say. If you have to ask from somebody else, you're dead on arrival. You get distracted doing boring stuff. How to make sure that you don't get distracted? Well, you just don't do the boring stuff. You just do the stuff that's relevant for you. You start your day. I'm a big believer in living in a one-day cycle. 95% of the time, you ask yourself, okay, what's today's signal, meaning what's relevant for today, and then you do that, and everything else is noise, and you say no to that. So you learn how to say no. The way you learn how to say no is that you have this conversation, and the remaining 5%, you're like, okay, what do I need to do now so that I don't regret it later? And that's how you keep circling back with the older version of you. And you learn how to say no. And the younger you are, the less experience you have, the harder it is to say no. Meaning that's noise, that's the 90%. That's how people influence your thinking and your, I don't know, way of working and whatnot, because they whisper in your ear. They're like your relatives saying that, well, your whole family went to college to become, or law school to become lawyers. Well, maybe you should do it too, but you are into flowers and stamps. It's like, how the fuck do I break the news? Well, am I miserable and I go to law school so that I satisfy the needs of my parents, or do I just follow my own dreams? And I don't worry about money right now. I just trust that if I get good at that stuff, the money follows one way or the other. I can monetize it. I think this is big. I mean, I think many people spend all their time, their whole life, chasing just everything, instead of just understanding first what applies to them, what to want, knowing what to want, knowing what applies to me. And then once you're crystal clear on what applies to you, then getting it is so much easier, because then you're not distracted anymore. Then you have focus. You have laser sharp focus on what those things are in your life that are really meaningful. And I've always been, my mom tells me now, but she's never said this to me before, but now she mentioned to me like maybe a month or two ago that ever since you were 18, talking about me, you have been exceptionally clear on what your thing is. And you've been willing to like just walk your own path. And she doesn't obviously understand all the things that have been going on in my head, the reason why I was put in that position and whatnot. But I think she's right about that 90%. But it also took me a lot of practice because of the things that I went through as a child and whatnot. But that's a different story. But yeah, I've never shied away from that, and I think it's been somewhat easy for me. But it has not been easy for me to say no to my those important people in my inner circle, my friends, my family members, my spouse or whatnot. That's been super hard for me. So I've been really good at saying no to strangers, but like the people in my inner circle, disappointing them, that's where I really had to dig deep. Really deep. So, but yeah, I think it's, I mean, that's what that's the only thing I tell my kids. Like, I don't honestly, I just went to the gym this morning with my friend, a good friend of mine. We train basically every weekend together if we have a chance. When will I'll just finish that in a sec. When will I do another live? I'll do at least Tuesday, 3 p.m. my time, so 2 hours before this. That's when I have a 2 hour or 2.5 hour live. I first have a meeting with my social media manager. You get to listen to that, and then after that I have a client meeting. He doesn't mind, so I just talk to my client about stuff, how I coach and whatnot. So that's when my next probably takes place, Tuesday, and then probably Thursday or something. What was I saying? I don't know. I got confused now. There was something I was planning on saying. Anyway, yeah, exactly. So I just went to the gym this morning with my friend, and we talked about kids. Our kids are roughly the same age, and I told him that, look, Father of the Year, when my son graduated from high school, I don't even know his grades. I don't even know what his grades are. Why? Because that to me is noise. I'm like, okay, you graduated, now let's move on to the next step, because I know that his grades have nothing to do with his success in life. Because most of those topics were just like, he just had to do it. He didn't have any passion behind it. There was no real interest. So all my focus is on understanding what is that he wants to do and support him in pursuing that. No, saying no. What do you mean? Yes, saying no. Saying no is important. But so that's why I don't push them the so-called old-fashioned way. If you go to a normal, quote-unquote normal, and I'm not blaming anybody by that. I'm not saying my way is any better than anybody else's way. But what I'm saying is that my way is definitely different. If you go to any other graduation party, everybody is asking like, hey, where are you going to go next? And what were your grades? And how did you do there? Because it's like the status. It's like, how was I compared to everybody else? And I'm like, that's fucking noise. Just ask yourself, what is it you want to do? And do you understand what it takes to get good at it? Has nothing to do with his, I don't know, math or history grades. Of course, he needs to know math if he wants to become a businessman. He's not going to be a physicist, so I know for a fact that it doesn't really matter. Or he's not going to study math in a university. That's not his thing. So that's why I know that he needs to find his passion and his interest area in life. And that might change 15 times, so that's perfectly fine. So my job as a father is to push him towards that and say, okay, go ahead and pursue that. But make sure that you understand that you have the roadmap crystal clear in your mind in regards to how hard it is going to be and how there's going to be so much adversity and all of that. So learn how to deal with that stuff. And the rest you can learn by just watching YouTube videos or reading books or whatever your natural way of learning is. So that's just me. But I'm different. Everybody's different, but I'm not saying I'm any better, but I'm just very different in this regard. I appreciate the questions, I really do. I like them. Keep them coming, so to say. Sorry, I'm cracking some eggs here at the same time. I took my daughter to the airport, and then I don't know what I was thinking. I was originally planning on coming back home and doing this live before I have to go to the game. Then I took my snacks and everything with me. Then I'm like, I'm at the office. I'm like, why the fuck am I here? Because I was not supposed to come here. And then I drove home. Because I just realized that I can do the live from here, and I actually eat my snacks here as well before I have to go to the game. So that's the thing. But anyhow, if you're interested, check out my latest video, which is going to be released, published, uploaded, I'm guessing in 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like I said, it's all about how to deal with uncertainty. It's one of the most important skills you can have if you want to become an entrepreneur. Many people dwell in those negative thoughts. They overthink the negatives constantly. Why? Because they have no coping mechanism, or they have no way to deal with uncertainty. That's how much we hate that we are willing to torture ourselves with all these negative thoughts. Ask yourself, how many people you know that you socialize with that are overthinking the positives all the time? There are no. Nobody overthinks the positives. Everybody overthinks the negatives, because it's called the negativity bias. We are wired that way. And that's fine. But understanding that it's going to keep you trapped, so learn how to deal with uncertainty is one of the most crucial skills. I have to go. I will come back on your next live. If I don't mess up the time, I also have to make a video, and I will check your video. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be, I'm going to post, let me just take this down. There's going to be a community post for sure, as far as when that's going to happen, but it's I don't know which location you are in, but the next live is going to be starting 3 p.m. local time here. I believe that's going to be, well, that's 1 p.m. in London. That's going to be 5 a.m. Pacific, 8, no, hold on, 7 plus 7, 8 a.m. Eastern in the US. And then Singapore, that's going to be what time then? I don't even know. Singapore is like, what, 5 hours ahead of me? I think. Something like that. Anyhow, I appreciate your comments, the questions. It's always fun to have some interaction going on with people. I'm gonna start eating soon, I think. Maybe I'm gonna lower this thing. How should I sit here? Maybe I should just put this down. Shoot. Or like this. Yeah, I do it this way. I'll do it this way. Yeah, this is perfect. Keep growing. I'll try, man. You mean physically growing or on YouTube? There's two kinds of growing. Mental growing and physical growing. So what am I eating? Maybe nobody cares. I'm eating eggs. I boiled some eggs. I'm gonna probably eat, what am I gonna eat? Maybe 2 or 3 whole eggs. A couple of egg whites before I go. On YouTube. Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you. I try. It's hard as fuck. But ever since I repositioned my channel, it's been like, feels like a couple of steps backwards. Which I knew, that's okay. It doesn't matter, but because I felt that I had to go more specific first, a more narrow niche before widening my scope. And I think that was one of my weaknesses in the past, that I was just too generic with my content. And I want to be, I think time will tell. I mean, I enjoy this kind of, this isn't good. I enjoy this kind of, maybe you've noticed, somebody who's listening to me, you notice that I enjoy the personal development stuff a lot. I do enjoy business too. I enjoy both. Man. So I don't know, time will tell how it's going to shape up. So if people see me as a business guy or somebody who wants to talk about how to get better and deal with adversity, I'm going to eat my eggs before I have to be there in that freezing cold arena. Yeah, in the middle of the summer, you have games that are indoors. It's like a cave, it's like underground. You drive there, it's like there's no fucking windows, there's nothing. It's like, well, I mean, there aren't really windows in these smaller hockey rinks anyhow, but, or I guess hockey rinks overall, or, you know, hockey arenas, but it's like small, but it's 2 sheets of ice next to each other. And you drive underground. It doesn't matter what time of the year, it's always cold. The middle of the summer, even though it's raining now, it's not very warm, but still in the summer you go there and you put your winter clothes on and it's so fucking depressing. Not good. But anyhow, gotta do it. And of course I'm gonna support my son, go watch his games, so that's good. That's always good. Anybody else with comments? One person in line right now. Let's keep this going still. Let's keep this going. What did we talk about today? I started ranting and lecturing about how to deal with uncertainty. And how that's an underrated superpower, I think, in life. Then I was expressing what was I talking about then? I was talking about how to understand what applies to you, how to know what to want. And then we had one, Pritwish Jodar. I'm sorry, maybe I'm mispronouncing your name, but this person, I shouldn't say gentleman, because I don't know, but it doesn't matter, it was very active, which is highly appreciated. So we had a good conversation about different topics. And now I just started eating eggs before I go to the game. I guess this is a classic example of taking you behind the scenes. Raw and unfiltered Sunday. Tomorrow I have actually a good day. Well, other than the couple of unpleasant calls I have to make. I have one meeting, a lunch meeting with the very successful entrepreneur whom I respect a lot. I've been, what's the right word? Not coaching him, but like exchanging ideas, giving him my support and viewpoints. I would say is the right word. Over the last year and a half, and I'm hoping maybe that's going to turn into something more permanent with him. Rich people make content for other people to get rich, but why are they trying to create competition for themselves? Data mode. Rich people make content for other people to get rich, but why are they trying to create competition for themselves? So you mean that there's already plenty of people talking about it, and you think it's like when you add another coach into the mix, you're thinking that it's basically making everybody's life more difficult, right? Because there's more competition. Is that your way of saying it? Assuming that's the thing, I have my response. Yes, okay. Appreciate the comment. Here's how I look at it. Sorry, let me spoil first. I totally understand where you're coming from, but here's how I look at it. If it hasn't been said by you, it has not been said. Okay? So what that means in practice is that there are people need to be reminded more than need to be taught. Okay, if you think about business, if you talk about, let's say, personal training, okay? So there's plenty of, I mean, all the principles in business, marketing, and finance, they have been invented many, many years ago. Of course, there's new technology that's gonna throw new things into the mix, but for the most part, the things have been said and done already. So then we could find an argument, the same thing in, let's say, personal training. If I wanted to be a personal trainer, if the criteria for that, to be successful in that domain would be to come up with something new, there would be pretty much no space for anybody anymore. And if you think that, okay, well, if I have overall globally, let's say 100 personal trainers that are able to pretty much say the things that need to be said. So why do I need then all of a sudden 1,000 or 10,000 personal trainers or business coaches who try to help other people get rich, right? Or whatever the thing is, get happier or whatever. That's kind of a pretty binary way of looking at it, in my opinion. I look at it this way. So there are plenty of people who, let's say in the business coaching context or domain, don't necessarily or would not necessarily resonate with those 100 coaches because their style, the way they express their opinions, the way they explain the theories and the practical stories would not really, you know, even if they spoke the same language, it's just not like the chemistry is not there. That's how I look at it. I think there is, as long as it has not been said by you, it has not been said. Meaning, I can repeat the same things that somebody else says, but if I add my personal mix, the way I look, the way I speak, the way I don't know, wave my hands, or the way I connect the theory to my personal stories, that's what makes it unique. See what I mean? I don't look at it as creating competition for themselves. I look at it as just offering a custom, tailor-made, different way of pretty much holding the client accountable. Because that's what you're basically doing. Of course, there's the information piece, but ultimately, let's say if you talk about personal training, for instance, or business coaching is the same thing. If I think about my clients, I would argue that the biggest value that I can provide to these people is twofold. Number one, I can look at their life and I can look at it like, I mean, what seems like a very complex situation to these people, and I can look at that complex equation or dilemma and I can simplify it. And I can simplify the complex dilemma and say, okay, these universal theories apply to you as well, or the ones I have tested, you know? And then, so I simplify it and I package it and then I hold them accountable. You know what I mean? Because most people actually need somebody who holds them accountable. And you just don't necessarily respect everybody the same way. You know what I mean? That's just how I look at it. But I think there's unlimited opportunity. Sir, I have an idea, or maybe something that I think can change my life. Should I go for it? I think I mean, okay, if I understand the question correctly. So, you're saying, okay, here's where I am, and here's where I want to go, right? That's what we're saying. So I'm in point A, I want to go to point B. I have recognized something that could potentially help me to get there, right? Or these are the skills I need to learn along the way. So should I go for it? Absolutely. If that's something you want. But if that's something your friend wants or your relative wants, don't. Do it for yourself. Absolutely. Make sense? If I understood your question correctly. I appreciate the comments. I actually honestly love this. You didn't challenge me. I'm not saying I'm right. This is just the way I look at it. No, sorry, I'm eating. Maybe hopefully this makes sense still. Crumbs on the chair. This is my dinner or a snack. This is oat bread made out of oats. I mean, I like oatmeal. I love it. Oats work really well. My stomach can't really handle gluten that well. I get a rash and my stomach doesn't really react that well to it. Same thing with dairy. So I found this bread. I haven't been really eating bread lately over the last 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe. This is good. It's soft, stays fresh, and then just have some eggs. It's a product that I want to launch in the medical sector. Oh, sorry. Okay, then I misunderstood. Go for it. But I mean, my question to you is that do you love it? Is that your passion? If you're doing it for the money, I don't think it's a good idea. But if you do it for yourself, that's truly something you enjoy, go for it. Absolutely. But ask yourself this. You know how this is okay, this is just my opinion again. This is how I keep motivating myself endlessly in life. I ask myself, if I was in your shoes, the question I would be asking myself is that first of all, do I like this? Am I truly interested in this? Is this my passion? Okay, the second question. Is this something that I need to do now so that I don't regret it in the end when I'm out of time? So, like, use radical extremes. If somebody told me tomorrow, a doctor came and said, okay, Mr. or whatever, Troll Rex, I don't know if it's male or female, sir, ma'am, you're out of time, you only have a month to live. Then is this something that you would regret that you never did it? Isa, Lux, you always talk about your kids, your work and your training, but not about your partner. Good question. I'm single, so I don't have a partner. Full disclosure, real talk, I have no problem admitting all this. I got divorced 8 years ago, maybe. Oh, of course I should know. 8, yeah, roughly. I, by the way, just came with my ex-wife. We both took our daughter to the airport, and we're just great friends. I mean, the best. I mean, this is the vision I had for that relationship, by the way. And I could talk about this forever, but I just say that she's the greatest person on the planet. We were just not a match. We were forcing it, and it was a disaster. Well, I mean, nothing really dramatic, but it just didn't work. And I have a very strong intuition. Back in the day, 10, 15 years ago, I had this vision that one day this thing is going to happen, what we have right now, meaning that we have great friends, or we're supposed to be involved in each other's lives, but not romantically. And then after that, I had another 5-year relationship. I lived with somebody, and that was a very up and down type of lots of, drama, so to say. That was toxic. And then I've been single for 3 years, intentionally, because I wanted to just get better, grow personally, learn how to be. I've always enjoyed my own company, so that hasn't been a problem. But yeah, of course I meet people, but yeah. But you're right. You pay attention. I appreciate that. That's good. That's a good question. That's why I'm here behind the scenes. I expose myself, and I'm willing to. You can ask me anything, and I'm going to be honest. I mean, I love a lot of things, but it's something that I want to help to the country. A lot of people don't have a good medical emergency box, so I made one for my mom, and she's very happy. Good. Okay, so you want to help others. That's a really good cause. I admire that, and I think you know the answer better than anybody else. You know whether you should go for that, and it sounds like you've already made up your mind. And ask yourself, this is, like I said, this is what I would keep asking myself. Is this something I need to do so that I don't regret it in the end? Remember, Troll Rex, 78% of the people in retirement homes, maybe you're so young that you have no willingness or interest to think about it long term. But trust me, most people, when they are truly out of time, they are 80, they are 90, whatever. I mean, you could live up to 120, whatever the age is, doesn't matter. But the concept is the same. When they are out of time and you ask them, what do you regret? 78% of the people say that they regret the things that they never did. Guess what my goal in life is? My goal in life is not to have any regrets when I'm out of time. I'm 48 now, okay? And I can honestly say that one of my biggest achievements, maybe if I don't think about my kids, my biggest achievement beyond that probably is that I've been able to live my life without any regrets. So I've had so much courage. I've been so brave. I started from scratch 3 or 4 times, depending on how you count. I've lived in multiple countries, started businesses all over the place, because I knew that I had to do that stuff. Otherwise, I would regret it. Like there's no tomorrow when I'm out of time. So that's my biggest achievement. And I plan on living my life the same way until the end. I don't know how much time I have left, but that's my goal. And I think that's how you should look at it too. if you can put yourself there. If not, if you believe in the concept, then learn how to do it. Again, just my piece of advice for what it's worth. Maybe it's not worth anything to you, but this works for me. It's bulletproof every fucking time. I'm 50-50 on a decision I ask myself. Usually if my intuition doesn't say anything, guess which one I pick? I ask myself, which one of these two is harder? I go with that. Why harder? Hard decisions, easy life. Easy decisions, hard life. That's why. Because you put yourself out of your comfort zone, you at least get an epic story. And the person who has the most epic stories is probably not going to be the one who regrets things in the end. So make sure that you don't regret things. It doesn't fucking matter. If nobody died, nobody got sick, it doesn't matter. It's hard as fuck. It's really hard. Because your mind starts to think about the worst case scenarios. Because what you're about to face with that medical box startup thing is unknown. Dealing with uncertainty, and that's the hardest thing for us. That's why we start thinking about the worst case scenarios, because we rather torture ourselves with the most terrible things in our mind, because it's so hard for us to deal with the unknown, not knowing what's going to happen, because that requires you to know how to shut everything down and just focus on the present moment, not worry about tomorrow, not dwell on the past. That's why. So that's what you ask yourself. It's been a good live. I'm really grateful. Honest damn. Well, not that it matters if you believe me, but just the way it goes. Too many crumbs though. Man. What else? I still have a few minutes. Go ahead, shoot. If any questions. This has been one of the best lives I've had in a while. Going once? No, just kidding. Let me know. What else could I say? It stopped raining. I'm gonna put my hoodie on and grab my freaking winter clothes and go to that ice cold rink. Yeah, I'm going to my son's hockey game. I'm gonna be the penalty box guy, counting saves and shots, and it's cold. It's underground. It's one of these old, built in the 80s, 70s type of a hockey rink. Miserable place, terrible. But anyhow, I gotta be there, and then be the one making sure that the game can take place. There's no paid officials. I mean, the referees get paid, but the one announcing it, people opening the penalty box doors and whatever, it's all like just parents and people associated somehow with the club. It's charity. How many languages do you speak? I speak, to state the facts, tell the truth, I speak 2 fluently, but I used to be able to speak 4. But since I haven't been speaking the other two, I can't claim honestly that I speak them fluently today. So I speak Finnish, English, and then German and Swedish. I actually went to a Swedish speaking business school. That's how I learned how to, why did I do it? Because I just wanted it as a challenge. Just describes me so well. I was like, I want to see if I can pull it off. And then I moved to Germany. I lived in Germany for a couple of years, and I studied in high school too. So yeah, I should say I speak German, but if you want to have a conversation right now, I mean, it would take me a while to get started, a couple of months and whatnot. But I'm nowhere near this level as far as what my English is with my German or Swedish. So, but yeah. So theory to in practice right now. I mean, theory for in practice too. So that's kind of the thing. You know what? I gotta get going, guys. I really enjoyed this. I'm gonna have one on Tuesday, another one on Tuesday. It's a little different. I'm gonna be talking a lot less. You're gonna see me talk to have a meeting with my, so if you're into content creation and if you really wanna pay attention to stuff, I mean like learn from that, Nelson, my guy, he's from Malaysia. I have a meeting with him on Tuesday, so you get to listen in on that stuff. I think that's useful if that's your thing. And then you get to listen to the coaching call I have with Gerardo, who's in the US. He's my client. He's a real estate investor. So if that's something, we talk about life too. It's not about like real estate tactics. Depending on what he wants to talk about every week is a little different. But it's your call. But I'm gonna announce that on Monday. Give you the exact time so you can just check out the community posts and whatnot, and then let you know. And of course, all of these are always recorded and stored, saved in my channel. So be sure to check them out. So, but anyhow, I really appreciate the time and the questions. Really good comments, really good questions. I hope you got something out of this, because honestly, my goal is to just add value, help somebody. So. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a great Sunday and have a really good week starting tomorrow. And I'll talk to you later. Okay, bye. Thank you.